Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're talking about a new tool that's going into effect today here in Colorado, July 1st, Monday. And it's a tool that consumers will be able to use to help them opt out of online data collection. So when you're going to different websites, it's a tool that will help send a signal to all those websites to basically tell them that you're not interested in having your data collected and used for targeted advertising. I'm very excited to be joined today by the Colorado Attorney General, Phil Weiser, who has been a leader in this space and is also the office that helped identify what tool that Coloradans should be able to use. So let me turn it over to you, Attorney General Weiser. Thanks for joining. And, why don't you tell us a little bit more about why this is such a big deal?
It was, I think, 3 years ago now that Colorado passed the third comprehensive data privacy law in the United States. One of the provisions in that law that takes effect today is a universal opt-out mechanism. Call it a as it were. Here's the good news. If you're worried, are people selling my data and sharing it without my consent? You should be worried about it because we know it's happening all too often. You have the opportunity to install software. The software is actually called Global Privacy Control, and you can get this installed on your browser. And what this does is send a message that businesses have to listen to. Here's the message: do not sell my data. Do not use my data because I don't appreciate what many people find a freakish thing that you're visiting one website, looking at a product, and then later you're getting pop-ups about something that you saw earlier, or your information is shared in ways that could even be harmful to you. This is something that is important for everyone to know. You have this right as a consumer. For businesses, what you need to know is this is the law. You need to respect this signal and follow the law. We wanted to make sure that the tool that was going to be used, I mentioned this before, the Global Privacy Control, is a tool that makes sense, that is viable. And that's why we went through a real process to vet what type of tool could meet the standard. We've now blessed this one, the Global Privacy Control. There may well be other tools, by the way, that also meet our standard. That's going to happen over time. This is the first of what, again, I expect to be many, because consumers want this right. They want to know their data is going to be respected and only used in ways they want. That's why we work to pass the law. That's why we're implementing it. And people now have this opportunity. You can go ahead, starting today, download Global Privacy Control and tell companies, do not collect information about me, and then go ahead and share it. Do not target me based on data that I don't want to be shared. That's a huge benefit for consumers. And now consumers can rely on that here in Colorado.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing that we've been concerned about, and I think you can probably speak to this too, there's a lot more scammers out there, and with the kind of information that can sometimes be stolen or received through all this data that's being collected on us, that information can be used for other nefarious purposes, the kinds of scams that maybe you're seeing, or just, robocalls, robotexts, other things that your office is experiencing consumers like me and others complaining about. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of just keeping as much of your information private so that scammers and others can't use it for nefarious purposes?
Danny, this is something that all consumers need to realize, which is how much information that you might have thought was private or personal to you is out there. One reason for this, unfortunately, is that there have been a lot of data breaches where you've given information to one company, they didn't do a good job safeguarding it, and it gets out there in forms that, like you said, scammers and other nefarious actors can use. You also need to just be worried about what data is being collected about you. Let me give you an advertisement for this Colorado privacy law in another important way, which is we have a assessment or inspection right where you can look at digital dossiers created about you. If there's a company that you know is collecting information about you, you can say, what information do you have about me? And they may have information that's incorrect. You've got a right to fix that. This is important because your credit worthiness, your job worthiness may be a function of information that's collected about you, and it could be incorrect. this is painful news for consumers because it's harder to be a consumer today than it's been maybe 3 decades ago when we didn't live in this world that is awash in data, some of which is incorrect. You as a consumer need to take control of your data. Think a lot about who you share it with, as you said, Danny. For people who have your data, ask them, can I see what you have about me so I can correct it? And then use this universal opt-out mechanism so that you are protecting who gets your data and keeping it to those you really want to and not those you don't.
Great. And I know, I went ahead and did this today. So I went on, I use Chrome as my main browser. So I found a link to one of the plugins. It was literally 2 steps and it was very, very easy. So from a consumer standpoint, I'll even kind of walk through and show a few screens here in a second. But I know from a business standpoint, this can be complicated. This can be technical. So I guess if there's a business out there, if you have a website and you're hearing this and you're going, well, I want to make sure I'm following the law. Does your office have resources? Are there ways that you all can help them make sure that they're in sync with what's happening starting today?
Yes. If you're a business and you want to understand more about this law, go to coag.gov/CPA. And this other URL that you put up there also, coag.gov/UOOM. That will give you the guidance that you need and the way to find out more information if you need it. We've worked hard to make this law easy to comply with. It is important that businesses understand their obligations, understand how they can comply with them, and those two websites will give you that information. Danny, I love that you went ahead and did it yourself and have got some short guidance for consumers. I'm really interested to see what that looks like, Danny.
Absolutely. So let me just let me share my screen real quick and let me put up one of the places. So as I said, I use a Chrome. So every browser is slightly different. We've compiled some tips on, depending on what browser you use, which plugin we recommend. So here's one that we're recommending for folks. Again, if you're in Chrome, so sharing my screen here, you'll see this icon come up, Privacy Badger. And so Privacy Badger is one of those plugins. You'll see the blue button at the top says remove from Chrome. That's because I've already put it on. And so it was as simple as following this link, and I'll put a link in the chat here for folks. It's following a link to this page. You can review the privacy information and how Privacy Badger works before you download it. And then once you download it, it is basically automatically included in your extensions. And so if I click on this screen, you'll see here are a set of extensions and plugins I have on my computer, and there's Privacy Badger right there. And it allows you to learn a little bit more about it. Or if there's a problem, not everything will work perfectly. If you're on a website and you're trying to watch a video and you feel like this Privacy Badger, that there's, it's a learning tool. So if it's not working the way you want, you can always go in and remove it for that one particular website. Or if there is a place where you are trying to share information and it's getting in the way, it's important to emphasize it's not an ad blocker. So this isn't about blocking ads. This is about stopping some of the sharing that's happening and the data collection that's happening in the background that you may not actually know is going on. And in fact, most of us probably don't realize how much data is being collected and then being shared. And so, as I said before, there are different tools that you can use depending on the websites, the browsers that you use. And so I'll just put into the chat here the link to our toolkit where we talk a little bit about overall what the Colorado Privacy Act means. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to see some of the specific plugins we're recommending that have this global opt-out opportunity, the global privacy control that's in there. So,
and this may be confusing folks. I talked about the global privacy control signal. The Privacy Badger is a specific implementation, or as you said, plugin. I believe there might be others too, but the one that you noted looks like you got it from the Electronic Frontier Foundation, Dan. Is that where you found it?
That's correct. That's correct. And there are other ones. There's DuckDuckGo Privacy Essentials. That's one that you can use. Some of the browsers have GPC built into them. So for Mozilla Firefox, there you might just be able to go into the privacy settings and make sure it's turned on there. So yes, you are correct. There's no one particular plugin, but that is an example of one that you can use, and it's just so simple from a consumer perspective, and it's important that consumers go through that few steps to make sure they turn it on. So on that note, I'll open it up to see if there are any questions in the chat. Feel free if you have a question to put it in there. I think it's pretty clear what's going on today. And as the Attorney General said, please go to their office if you have questions or need help. Obviously, with any new law like this, it's going to take a few days to make sure everyone understands how to abide by this. So if you have questions, especially if you have websites or you're running a business and you want to make sure that you have the right system in place to listen to this opt-out signal that more and more consumers will start sending out, then make sure that you're contacting their office. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to add to this, Attorney General Weiser?
Just that this work is a team sport. We've got great members of our team who worked on this, the people who commented, helping us identify the global privacy control, those helping to implement it, like the ones you've lifted up today. This is important work for consumers. This is a scary world we're in. Consumers are worried about their data being sold and used in ways that they don't appreciate. We're now putting rights in the hands of consumers. And Danny, thank you for being such a great consumer advocate, getting out the word.
Great. So again, starting today, July 1st, Monday, consumers will have a chance to not only opt into this privacy control in their browsers, and that browser will start sending a signal to let websites know that if they're collecting data that you are opting out of them collecting information that could be used to target you, to advertise to you. Not only is this good for consumers who don't want to have companies sort of targeting at them, knowing things about them they didn't know they shared, but it's also good just to protect your privacy, because every piece of information that gets out on the internet is something that can be leaked to potentially nefarious actors and be used in scams or other create other problems there. So we encourage people to go and actually make sure your browsers have some sort of global privacy control included. And so today is a great day to take a few minutes, probably not even that much, and put that into place. So thank you again, Attorney General Weiser, for joining. And if you have any questions, we have a couple links in the chat, and you can always follow up with us via email. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.